Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Rev-it Virtual Racing Challenge. Now, last week we started out on a long journey to sort out the grids and determine the drivers who'd make it into the semi-final shootout. And those 8 races in their entirety have no doubt been a virtual endurance on its own. After 8 hard-fought races and more than 700 cumulative racing laps summed up across the 64 drivers in the competition, we have finally reached the coveted semi-finals of the endurance event. And it's an understatement to say the least that this is going to be extremely exciting. Now, we've got 2 grids lined up today for the first semi-final stream, which will go on from now until about 10 p.m. IST this evening. The last 2 semi-final races for grid 2 and for grids actually 3 and 4 will be taking place tomorrow at the same time. So for our recurring viewers and supporters from all the teams, I already see a lot of support in the chat, but for all of you there, welcome back to the arena. For our newer viewers, allow me to introduce you to the competition at hand and what you're lined up to witness. Formula Bharat is an Indian Formula student style engineering design competition in which students from colleges and universities all over the country compete with a life size Formula style vehicle in various areas of engineering design, overall cost, marketability, and dynamic performance. The series replicates the Global Formula Student Series, hosted in around 11 countries per year. Launched in 2017, each year the Formula Bharat competition hosts both combustion and electric vehicle categories. With a student community base of more than 8,000 engineering students, the platform hopes to promote practical, hands on engineering experiences. Now, Rev-it is a virtual racing challenge which is by Formula Bharat in collaboration with IReSports. This event does have racing, but it's also a fundamental test of your engineering knowledge in setting up race cars. It's a typical recreation, so to speak, of the FS Dynamic event with one major difference, one very exciting difference. Today, we will be having wheel to wheel action, one of the many advantages of racing in the virtual world, in the safety and comfort of your little gaming chairs at home. So get into the groove. All these drivers are out there trying to get into the top 4 in this grid. IReSports are India's largest e-racing organizers, and IReSports has created iconic properties in the racing esports space, such as the Indian E-Racing Championship, the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship, Mumbai's fastest gamer, India's fastest gamer, the Indian Sim Racing League, and many more. IR Esports continues to curate, plan, and execute custom motorsport based campaigns via esports across various mediums. So, our race directors for this evening, the ones who are in charge of the entire sequence of events you see on screen with all the camera work, are Tanuj and Feroz. My name is Saidat Ramesh, and today I am joined by Solomon, and we are all set to jump right into the action. So, first things first, Solomon. I mean, Lotus 9080s and Monza. It really doesn't get any more retro than this, eh?
Just one name, Artin Senna. The name. You can't expect much more than that. People are talking about getting the grid right. I was talking about trying to get the lines right. We just saw a car spinning somewhere on the home straight itself. There's going to be a lot of action. There's going to be very good action. With the ref bridge already starting a little bit crazy. And in no time, they're already onto the barricade. So it's going to be a very, very long day for us.
It's going to be a long day, some pretty treacherous conditions as well. There are a few major changes, some major changes in track temperatures and the wind direction, and all these things could potentially catch these drivers out. They shouldn't be going too wide on these racing lines. They should stay within those white lines because, Solomon, we do have some very experienced stewards with us today, don't we?
Yes, let's say big hello to them. And as we're going to talk about them, first we're going to talk about multiple podiums in Volkswagen Polo Championship, the winner of multiple four-stroke karting, former test driver and stunt driver with VW Motorsports India, and official Jaguar instructor. The reason we are trying to talk very nice about Aditya Pawar is hopefully he may give us a free ride next time, sir. I think we can actually put that later. Anyway, we also have Abha Mankar, top 5 Merchant driver program, top 10 in 1 in a billion hunt. Nobody can forget what really happened when Jihan and all of them went through that hunt. And Abha Mankar was one of them. Multiple podium in two-stroke and four-stroke karting, and also a Jaguar instructor.
Absolutely. We've got some really good experience hands on board, making sure all these drivers focus on what they're doing and don't cut any corners, literally and figuratively. Anyways, on that note, let's jump straight into seeing what these drivers are up to. Let's have a quick introduction, in fact, to our first grid for this evening, grid number one. This race is going to be going on up till about 9 p.m. So all of you hold on to your hats because we have a quick introduction for all our drivers. The first driver you see on screen is Swaroop from Bulls Racing. That's BZR. He is running the number 118. We've seen the Bulls charge ahead of the pack in grid number one and two. Both drivers taking victories for their team in their individual cars. So they're definitely a very strong contingent, very strong set of drivers who will mostly be trying to get clean sweep victories here as well. But this is the first car, Bulls Racing. Let's move on to the next car, the next team on grid. That is Team Vegadut Racing, being driven by Amit TVR. Solomon, what do you think about the TVR livery? Once we get that on screen, we can have a quick run through.
First thing is, I mean, sorry to cut you off, but then Swaroop, everyone got to listen to one important lesson. Do not go on the sausage curve. You know what happens. And that's exactly one of the lines that you've got to be looking at. There's one of those times that you've got to clip the curve again. And you may want to try and stay as close to the racing line and just about keep it on the curb. Now, very interestingly, just a quick figure here. If you look at the car, you will see the driver of the race is so closer to the wheel. And as the technology and as the work on the car went on, the driver went quite to the back. Well, we just saw it.
Yep, we saw, we saw. We're going to be seeing a lot of those. Hopefully, we don't, but I have a feeling we might, especially these drivers are trying to get up to grips, especially because qualifying doesn't have the best of track conditions just yet. Unfortunately, we do not have Amit from Vegadut Racing. However, we do have. Who is this? This is. I we yeah we Amit who though we don't have this Amit. Yeah, so this is Amit Huzure from STES Racing for some reason, but I thought it says from the grid that Danish Tamboli should be on board. But okay, as of now we have we have STES or Amit on screen in this grid running the well the standout camouflage livery, I would say. For a track like this, it's supposed to camouflage in, but that really does stand out. It's really nice livery for STESR Racing, another team that has done pretty well up till now in the run up to the finals.
Remember, these were the Renault ES 115 liter car we were talking about. Horsepower up to 800, 900. But these are legendary machines. Now, it's so important that you stay at that's too much of a curve there. You just got to clip it there. Remember to stay off the sausage curve. So sort of done the fastest lap time. 1301, 1.55 to Vishal. It's going to be pretty close for the second and third. You just keep on separating them.
Yep, definitely. It's already going to be very close grid. You know, these are the best of the lot, the best of all those grids that lined up till now. But yeah, those are the two. Well, the first two drivers we've introduced. Who else do we have on the grid? We'll see. Let's look at P2 HRT Vishal, since he seems to be the only driver right now anywhere close to toppling Swaroop's dominance, apart from of course Danish over there. But yes, that is Vishal in the HRT car, running comfortably in second place. And what a nice livery! That is in fact Ayrton Senna's livery. You can see Ayrton Senna's signature over there. Definitely a very fitting tribute, being drivers that are driving this car specifically. I think that's perhaps the greatest touch anyone can add to their car.
Well, the best part is this is the car that Ayrton Senna drove. Why not we give him the homage at this point of time? But we also learn a little learning lesson is never stay too close to the curve, sausage curve again and again. Just a quick question on Gaetan. I thought started off the lap very well and slowly almost retired his car and then came to a lap time of 2 minutes 06. So he lost about quarter of seconds there. I'm just beginning to wonder, have they mapped the entire braking corners on each of the ends? So 1 minute 30.05 is the real fastest. Can it will that some sort of a slipstream come over there?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the slipstream certainly does help in this track, but not so much in qualifying, unless, of course, they position themselves right. Yeah, like you had said, he just crossed a car there, so he might have gotten a bit of a slipstream. But yeah, Vedant's another driver we saw have a really strong race. I believe he was part of grid number 1, if I'm not mistaken. Very solid drive by the driver. I believe almost getting into the podium spots. I need to double check the results. But yes, some of these drivers really do surprise us with some of the lap times they're putting out. This is the next car on grid. Of course, we saw Vedant over there from NITK Electric Racing, which by the way is running a red car for their electric car. So it's a nice combination. The next driver, of course, on grid, we see him on screen right now, is Nishit from Phoenix Racing. Nishit is one of those drivers who actually managed to nurse a broken car. And I distinctly remember this. He ran with a broken front wing and somehow managed to put that car up there, the top end of the field by the end of the race. So a very, very capable driver. He's got a good car. He's got a good set of hands to control that. You can see his lap times are right up there with the top four, or rather the second through fourth, the only ones who are really anywhere close to catching P1 right now. The next driver, of course, on grid is Ray from Formula Manipal Electric. Again, very nice little livery. It looks very similar. Reminds me of that Williams racing car, like I've told. What are your thoughts on this one, Solomon?
Okay, first and foremost, I think the kind of brute force the William cars had, you would definitely not see them. But these were more about horsepower, and the kind of livery that we're talking about is really adding to the entire atmosphere. But oh wow, I like the color change it so quickly in a matter of time. Uh, I'm seeing a lot of mistakes happening on the home straight, turn one, turn six, and turn seven. Mind you, there are very few reference points to when to take the corner.
Yep, absolutely. It's such a tricky track. It might seem simple on paper when you look at it from the top. It's quite a simple circuit, right? But when you jump into that driver's seat, you keep talking about the sausage curves, right? That's exactly what these drivers need to stay away from. The problem is sausage curves are designed and placed in such a way that you literally have to thread yourself through that, and it's only about a couple of inches either way before you get mounted on top of that and just get sent into Narnia, so to speak. So these drivers need to definitely stay off those curves. And my apologies, we actually do have two STESR racing cars. So yes, we don't have a TVR car on this grid. That is not Amit from TVR. That is in fact Amit from STESR, who's one of the cars on the grid. Let's also have a look at his teammate Danish Tamboli, the other STESR car, again in that camo livery. So maybe these two drivers will try to work together and get both their cars up there. Remember, it is an individual event for the drivers, but if you can get both your cars up there, if you can get your entire team up there in the finals, I mean, there's no better way to take that glory, right?
You can take a double toe. You can actually use the toe of your partner if you're possibly qualifying together. It'll be very nice. But a very quick question. I mean, we were talking about how tight turn one is and how certain corners are. I kind of noticed even the entire pit entry is so short. There's absolutely no space for a car and a half a lane. It's such a short entry, and there's a very small pit lane. It really is challenging for those of them to actually come out. And mind you, stay behind the white lines. We know exactly what happens.
Yeah, it's always gonna be chaos if you're not careful into T1 at Monza. You see it happen in almost every single racing series, and this is certainly not an exception. And in fact, open wheel racing series are even more at risk into that corner. We've seen this in GT racing, multiple car pileups happening just at the beginning of what could potentially be a 6 to 12 hour race. Here it's only 20 minutes long, but there's a lot at stake, and I'm quite sure if you need to pit on lap one, it's quite a long way up to the top four.
I think Aditya Pawar and Abhay Mankar would possibly say our Jaguars can go drive faster than these guys are going on, but that's a different story for a different day. I love this head on camera right under the tunnel into downs very quick left-hander. They'll touch on the quick right-hander in no time. Mind you, where is the reference point here? This is where you really don't know where your reference point is. You just got to clip the curve all the way down to that straight line there. Can he take a toe ahead of him? He's got to be a little bit watchful. No, the car goes on to his left. Gives it a little bit of push there. Remember, the fastest time is 1 minute 28.9. We almost got that. So Swaroop has clocked in 1 minute 28.994. Can he beat his time one more time? He's got to be a little bit careful on that quick right-hander and a quick dash to the left. This has been a good one.
Yep, it's been solid run through that for the final two sectors of the lap as he just rounds off He's getting ready to round off the final corner, get heavy on the brakes. Remember, you got to sense where that wind is pushing you, just sense how much downforce you're going to get. He goes a little wide on the last
Yep.
part, then swings back into the middle part of the circuit as he flies down the straight. Will he improve his lap time? No, he has not improved it, but I doubt he even needs to because we're well into overtime for qualifying. That is your final grid. You have Swaroop holding pole position by more than 4 seconds, at 4.1 seconds between him and P2 driver Vishal, followed by Vedant, Amit Hunsure, and Danish, all having lap times very similar to each other. So we've got both the STES R cars starting one behind the other because both are on the same side. Rather, they're not one behind the other, but they will be having a side draft down that straight. Let's hope they can use the advantage of the slipstream up ahead as the race starts. It will be starting quite soon.
So then, the curve parabolica was a chance that we could actually look around for the cars. This is going to be a very, very interesting fight. All set,
Yeah.
folks?
Just a bit of information for our viewers and for everyone who's tuned in right now. The wind conditions are a little tricky here today. We do have wind shooting down, I believe, giving you tailwind out of Lesmo 2 and Ascari. So that might catch these drivers out. I don't know if they know it yet. If the teams are listening to this, they might want to relay that to the drivers. But we thought we'll hold that until just when the race starts. Just throw that as a curveball to all of you. But yeah, expect some tricky racing around those sections. But I think the trickiest one right now for the race start will undoubtedly be down into the first chicane.
Without a doubt, any time around the turn one is the time where you're actually getting more number of speed, but not during the start. So this is going to be very interesting. We all with bated breath. Each of the cars, Vishal has just been numbered. Swaroop will be looking to make an impact. That is Amit right there. Lovely livery on the cars. There is orange. There's a little bit of back to tent. It's only a matter of time. Again, toughest corners will be turn one and further down turn six and seven.
Yep, and we're just about ready for the starting sequence as they all look up. Yep, all the lights are starting to come out, waiting for all six lights. Just a couple of seconds now, and we are under green flag conditions. Everyone launches away pretty well. These are the most seasoned drivers from the grid. Everyone's got away quite well. Let's see if everyone makes it through into the first turn. We already see a bit of carnage, no carnage there, but there are a few overtakes. Looks like both the SCESR cars managed to jump the pack and get into P4 and 5, and then one of them has conceded the position. Looks like the second SCESR car of Amit has lost the position there as the Formula Monopoly driver goes wide. It's a bit of netcode there, there's a bit of glitching. Let's hope that doesn't interfere with the race. But everyone's gotten through quite cleanly. It's surprising and very pleasant to see that everyone's managed to get through turn one without any crashes.
That was something well done, well behaved, I think you have to say that. But for a moment I thought on pole position, he took a wider line and he came onto that exit very, very early. He possibly knew that getting out of the turn one faster will really help his advantage, and Swaroop has done exactly that, and he knows this is really going to aid his advantage. That start is going to be very critical. Now, Vishal will possibly have to cut down that gap someday onto the tighter corners when they possibly approach 8, 9, and 10.
Yep, as they approach the Ascari chicane right now, this is where you got to be really careful, especially because your aero balance is going to be thrown off with the different wind conditions here today. We saw Vishal go a little wide, but I suspect that is a bit of netcode. He must be having some very high ping, quite a lot of latency from his end. It is a network issue, of course, but let's hope it all stabilizes soon. But he seems to be holding on quite well now to the car up ahead. Of course, those gaps are wrong right now. We got to wait for the relative times on the left to stabilize. But Vishal has got Swaroop right in his sights, right up in front, as we see the final fourth position. Remember, everyone's going to battle for the P4 position because that's the one that gets you into the top four, that gets you into the semifinals or out of the semifinals. And is this Danish out of the race already? He's spun into Parabolica, gotten it all wrong, and he's already got damage in his front wing. Let's see if he pits this lap. I think he has stayed out. Yeah, it looks like he stayed out over there.
I think every racer always goes through this. You spun on your own, you spin on your own, and you need to have your repping point. Possibly this was a replay, no, this is not. So Danish is taking in a little bit of an evasive. For the first time, he manages to just clip the curb. Can be a little bit better there. He possibly has got to get closer to the car ahead of him. And if he's able to do that someday between turn 3, 4, and 5, he would possibly have a chance around curb Parabolica.
Definitely will, as he now starts hunting down the pack up front. Remember, we do know that he has the pace, but he was on par with the cars up in front. So he can stick with the pack, but overtaking is quite another prospect. We saw this happen in Formula One just a few days back. Even if you have a visibly stronger car on that particular track, getting the overtake done takes quite a few laps. You've got to be patient in a track like Monza. There aren't many overtaking spots, just a few. So it's just about tackling all of these curves, or rather staying away from them, sensing the loss of grip from the dirty air coming out from the car up ahead, and just managing to hold on until you can find a small gap in the track. As we see Danish now making his way through Ascari, this is one of the stronger portions of the track, especially for the SCESR guys. And you see him go through that section quite well, staying away from the curves. And I think there is a move that's coming. There is an overtaking move in the making right now. We need to wait and see.
I was just thinking with this tendency to go wide, especially in turn 6 and 7, and you may want to get off on the wrong side of the track limits, and that's where the stewards come in. There you go, reference points. You got to keep your reference point, and this is the second time on the same corner he's managed to go twice.
Once again, yep.
It's called a double whammy for him. He's possibly got to get his act together right now. That's harsh, but he's got to get it soon enough. So Swaroop continues to lead with Vishal at number 2. And this is a battle with Vishal trying to not being able to keep pace.
Yep, I think if once we see the relative back on screen, we'll have an idea of how far away he is. But I'm quite sure Swaroop has already started pulling out quite a big gap. You see that? Yeah, it's about 4 seconds. It was a bit more than that. Someone's glitching all over the place. That's the Formula Manipal car of Rain, who was in P3. Where is he gone? Let's hope for his sake that's a net code error. I think he's made it through quite easily. Yeah, no, he's gone wide. Yeah, it's really, it's quite difficult to figure out what's happening and all that chaos. But I think the battle on our hands right now will be between BJRT and STESR. P3 and P4, they are well within the qualifying positions of the top four, but everyone wants to get up there on the podium. In a track like Monza, it means a lot to get up there on the podium.
Just a quick word, Vishal had about 9 seconds if I remember the last time around. Now he's brought it down to 5.5 or 6. So he's really upping the speed right now. Now the real battle that we're looking now is between 4th and the 5th. Vedant is possibly, I beg your pardon, it is between number 3 and number 4, Shashank and Amit. So they are going to be fighting for the 3rd and 4th, and we were possibly waiting for that overtaking maneuver to happen. So let's just follow this. We just got to get close to the car ahead and try and use the toe head and then make sure he's going to brake as late as possible on the corner. Maybe the right hand is coming up right now. Turn 1. This is where you carry as much number of speed, the highest braking point over here. How is he going to brake? If he's going to brake this time around so close as ever, he will really point on the pressure. Come on, drive in this time. I thought he just let off the gas.
I think he was quite a bit too far behind that time around, but he has another opportunity here. This is another potential overtaking zone into the Della Roggia chicane, the second of the chicane sequences of the three potential the three chicane sequences here at Monza. This STSR, the car that is being chased. Let's see if we can see the other car in the rear view mirror. Yes, we can see it in the rear view on that way. So let's see what happens, especially out of Lesmo too. We saw the other STESR car getting it all wrong in these high downforce sections. Let's see if Amit can manage to hold it through. And also, if this battle does tend to calm down a bit, it'll be actually interesting to see what Danish is up to. Let's see if he's learned from his mistakes and whether he's managing to take Parabolica cleanly again. But yeah, only if this battle is subsides. I don't think it is. Is this another overtaking move coming up? You see the blue BJRT, the Blue Jay racing team. That Blue Jay is flying, trying to catch up with this camoed car up front. Once again, he's not able to make it stick, but he is a lot closer this time. By will we see an overtaking move next time around? Next time by the by the start finish line.
Well, Darish has moved out of position number 7. The battle between 3 and 4 continues with Jishan still not being able to follow the line. Now, you were talking about the wind speed. I personally believe if you want to stay behind the car, there is going to be a little bit of dirt there, unless and until you try and close them up a little bit. Now, what are the lines they take? Shashank, in the meantime, tried to take a tighter line. Amit was taking a little wider line. That is Vishal for you. Possibly lost pace a little bit because from a gap which was 5 seconds has now gone up to 8.8. So now it looks like Swaroop is under cruise control.
Remember, we saw that pace differential between P1 and everyone else from P2 to P5 as at about 4 seconds. So Swaroop seems to be holding on to that same pace, about 4 seconds per lap. And you see Swaroop there in the background, and SCS at Dinesh all the way back here in P7. And he's not even the last car on the grid. You see Nishit, who's already been lapped, I believe, almost a couple of times now. He's at least 1.5 laps behind. But Danish, the driver who had it in the bag, binned it twice in Parabolica, and he's got a lot of ground to cover. Mind you, there are only 12 minutes left, but on the flip side, 12 minutes is still a lot of time for some of the other drivers to also get caught out. Remember that wind speed is actually southwest here for this grid. So that's actually a tailwind into Parabolica, tailwind through Ascari, and a tailwind out of Lesmo too. So these three corners are treacherous in these conditions. It will be interesting to see how they cope with that.
It looked very obvious because when they were approaching turn 5 to turn 6, you would find they were trying to cut through the wind. And from exit of turn 6 and 7, we haven't seen much of the mistakes there. But yes, in turn number 4 and 5, and also in turn number 1 and 2, of course, Danish has made turn number third of Parabolica a little bit of his own stunt right there. At this point of time, Shashank coming on the outside, not taking a very tighter line, I would presume. Now look at the comparisons of lines. Here comes car number three on the third position, takes a wider line. Shashank just slows down a little bit, maybe not being able to get on the accelerator fast. Well, the thumb rule is low on the exit, high on the exit as well. Now, if you're not able to do that, you're not going to get that much traction.
I think with this, with the sort of straights you have in Monza, especially, you need to make sure that you get perfect exits out of these low traction zones. Something like Lesmo. Lesmos are quite good because you can use the camber of the track. But remember, as soon as that camber flattens out, it'll catch you off guard, especially when you cross over, when you go over that crossfall region of the racetrack. I don't think Shashank will be having too much issue there though, because he has managed to hold on to a car that was just about at the same pace as him, so he's able to hold on this well. That team has definitely got their arrow right. Let's ride on board with Shashank and see if he can make another maneuver on Amit up ahead. He breaks just after about the 100-meter boards, around 80 meters. Looks like a good place to break with these cars, taking quite an aggressive line, but somehow that camoed car up ahead is starting to disappear in this section. It's almost camouflaging with the trees up ahead. And then Shashank again getting that slipstream down these areas. So, it really is a tug of war. It's all about which driver is willing to risk it all and just take a little more than what you usually do on the exit. And he takes a bit too much on the grass. The Blue Jay Racing driver gets on the grass and nearly spins it out. So all that work done, all those seconds that he's chopped off, has now again increased up to about 2 seconds at this point. Very unfortunate by Shashank. He's going to have to take more calculated risks, more careful entries into Parabolica next time by.
I was thinking about two things. One, when Shashank was trying to, he seems to be very strong on the straight, very, very strong, good straight line speed. But when it comes to the corners, that's where his weakness comes to the fore. You definitely get a feeling that Amit is much, much stronger when it comes to the corners, especially turn two and turn three. He was able to keep it at absolutely no pressure in the turn. So Nishant at this point of time starts his lap with this another lap with almost about over 2.5 minutes gap that he's already had. In fact, make that 3 minutes gap that he has. Vishal has got about 19 to 20 second deficit on Swaroop. Amit has almost got about 1 minute deficit on the race leader. But
Yep,
the battle
all the way
continues.
all the way up to P5. And you see that battle is now starting to form once again because NRE Vedant is also coming up to that group of cars tussling in P3 and P4. So all the while that they're actually having their battle on track, they're effectively losing time to both the cars up ahead and the car behind that's starting to close them down. This is the point where we need to start looking at what Vedant does. I think he's in a very good position to take that P4 or even P3 spot. If he plays his cards right, Vedant can get NRE up there into the finals, but he's going to have to play this perfectly with just about 8 minutes of the race left.
We're just watching him working hard on that steering there as he tries to pass the home straight. Where does he go? He's got to be braking very, very gently, very, very. Follow that on turn one. He's got to be very careful. Just clip that curb. Don't go on the sausage curb. Perfectly done. The exit could have been a little more faster acceleration, but then Definitely better than the last time. Remember, you have the highest speed on turn number one when you're carrying it from the home straight.
Really is a textbook lesson of how to take that corner. Both drivers, the BJRT driver Shashank and Vedant in his NRE car, both cars taking perfect lines through that section. And all that while, it looks like even STESR has got their formula right, with Amit getting a surge of pace now, starting to pull away from BJRT. And that's probably the reason why sorry, not BZR, the BJRT driver is getting it all wrong, especially through Lesmo 1. Gets a good exit once again out of Lesmo 2. All this while, let's just have a rear view let's just have a view of where that NRE car is. If we can have a look at his rear wing, we'll see just how close that red car is. Not quite close enough there. You can't even see him in the distance. So has something happened to the NRE driver? I doubt it. The gap still stays at about 3 seconds. So maybe he's just a bit too far back. But you know what, Solomon? That just tells you how fast these cars are going. 3 seconds worth of time on track is hundreds of meters worth of track distance, especially when it comes to this sort of a car on this sort of track.
This time we're going to be looking at possibly a three-way fight between Shashank, Amit and Vedant is going to come in. He will come onto the screen at any
Yep.
moment. If you're going to keep that screen there. So there is Shashank, there is Amit, and
Yep.
Vedant is right behind them. So then the gap really coming down. There he is, somewhere just about the middle part of the home straight. He is going to be probably breaking as late as possible. Remember, we watched him give us a demo lesson on turn number one. He
Yep.
possibly knows that this is the time to catch him up again.
It's about capitalizing with the current situation at hand, especially when it comes to being on track right now. From Vedant's perspective, he is trying to catch up. And you see that Amit has already lost P3. So he made a mistake into Parabolica. Once again, STES are getting it all wrong there. You see BJRT Shashank jumping into P3 now, inheriting that spot. But he can't rest just yet, because now this is the time to see what Amit can do. He's been leading that pack all this while. Now let's see if Amit can drive in that dirty air and catch up. It feels like STESR just doesn't have the right aero kit for these track conditions. You see them struggling consistently in all these corners, and he's already dropping out big time to that blue car up ahead. Let's see what he does this time by through Ascari. And if we can ride on board with Vedant, it'll give a good reference of how much time he's actually losing. Let's get in the cockpit view of Vedant. There we go. Vedant is very, very clean. He's one of the more clean drivers we've seen up till now in this race, just taking every corner perfectly. Not a single bit of twitch from that steering wheel. Is he using a mouse? I suspect he might be using a mouse as opposed to a popular controller choice, which many teams go for.
Well, another aspect of the whole racing that we were looking around is the kind of the reference point we been lap in and lap out. We don't have to put in those reference points. I didn't find much change from the previous lap to this lap. And with every passing lap, I just hope he's able to pick up speed and also try and bring in those traction that we're looking at. Okay, these three are going to be bunched up together. We are set for a podium fight for the third, fourth, and the fifth. And Vedant at 65.1, and it is still going to go on for a longer time. 63 is a gap that is going to go around, but
Here we go.
Swaroop is
Happening.
running away to the distance. This is where it's going to come in. How close are they going to come in? He dives in onto the hazard look again.
No, and he gets it wrong. And he
Both of
takes
them
out the
got it
driver up
wrong.
front. Oh my God, is that going to be a penalty? Will that be a penalty for Anari? We'll have to rewatch that later on after the race. But that is P4 right now in NRE's bag. SESR Amit now losing 2 positions in the span of the last 2 laps. There's just about 3.5 minutes of the race left, and at this point, Amit just has to hold on to Vedant and hope for his own sake that Vedant gets some sort of repercussions. Vedant, meanwhile, is going to try everything he can to at least jump a spot and keep an extra spot in hand. Remember, viewers, only the top four from this grid will make it into the finals. The finals will most likely be a race with 16 drivers on the grid. One race with 4 drivers from each of these 4 grids in the semis, all making their way up there. Third place driver Shashank, however, is not phased by any of the drama behind him. He's strongly holding on to the final podium spot, and it's just a matter of time before NRE catches up with him if he makes any sort of mistake. As you see, HRT Vishal still glitching all over the place. It's probably just a glitch on our screen because he's not losing any time, is he?
Well, I thought it was more of a racing incident because one thing is Vedant kept in on the inside, showed his intent to come on the inside, and then there was just a clip of the curb, and then the contact was made. But right now, Shashank is possibly saying, "Hey guys, thank you very much. I will have my lonely number third at this point in time. Vishal continues to stay at number two. Danish, in the meantime, he remember he was right at the back of the grid. Now he's up to number six.
Yep,
So
yep. We
which
saw
is an improvement?
Formula Manipal electric rake in P8. We saw him in the pits a couple of laps ago. Could be a technical issue, might have crashed somewhere, but he's about 400 seconds behind. That's almost about, I don't know, that's about almost 4 to 5 laps behind the race leader. So he's miles behind competition right now. I think he's safe to say he's probably out of contention for this race. But Danish is also quite a long way behind P4. Remember, he's at 154 seconds. P4 is more than a minute up ahead of him. So, and you see someone parked on the track. Who was that? That looked like a yellow car. Let me just have a look at that spotter guide and see who that was. I think that was the Phoenix Racing car of Nishit who was parked on the track. So, he is in P7. He's probably teleported back to the pits. You see that time plummeting. Yep, he's surely back in that pits. I don't think any of these three drivers on screens care or even know about that, because P3 through P5, they're all fighting it out to get onto the podium. Let's see if Vedant makes another lunge. He makes it. He makes a lunge into Parabolica, but the BJRT driver has the better, well, more traction on that exit despite having to travel more. And then STESR now is fighting back, taking a tighter line. This is going to be a drag race up to the line. So STSR already moving out of that slipstream, taking that position. He's going to have to be very defensive here. BJRT also getting in the midst, losing two positions. There's contact between
That was
NRE
bound
and
to happen.
BJRT.
That was bound to happen. That was bound to happen. Oh, and the effects goes everywhere. Everybody's going offline now. Now everybody's got to get back. The stewards are going to take a note of this one. But this is a very good battle. Vedant, all of us, I thought he had him for that particular line. But then Amit just had tried to close on the door, lost grip, and went off the track a little bit. The battle continues as they move in away towards turn number 8, 9, and 10. Remember, curve Lismo.
Yep, yeah, more contact, more pinball, more fidget spinner work on track. Oh wow! In all of this, it looks like STSR, the car that actually spun and caused all of that, is now back into P1. I mean, at least in this battle, and
Vishal
NRE has
moves
found
up to
themselves
number
back.
two.
Yep.
Vishal moves up to number two in no time. And Amit at number three with Shashank at number four. I thought we were getting a demonstration of Scandinavian drift with all three cars doing a 360 and well, 360. We were talking about stunt show earlier, so this was quite a bit of a stunt there. Okay, here we go again. One more time. Can the race lead? Oh, no, sorry,
No
I beg your
more
pardon.
contact,
One
one
more
more
time.
lunge, one more car as TSR again spinning at Ascari. Who is that coming up? That's the race leader? That's the Black Bulls racing car up in front, lapping these three, happily taking away the race win. It's just one more corner left for Swaroop, but all the action is going on right behind him. I think that's the point where Danish could, if Danish was in that midst, he could have taken advantage of that, but he's still way too far behind, 50 seconds behind. But in all of that chaos, Swaroop is all set to cross the checkered flag. He's getting down the main straight. He's going to take away this victory. The Bulls have once again charged at the front of the pack, taking away this victory by a huge margin of half a minute. That's literally one entire sector's worth of lap time that he's taken out of Vishal in P2. And then you've got these three battling it out. There are going to be some very interesting very interesting post race interviews for that one. But yeah, that's just, I wouldn't say that's just racing. That's a bit that's a bit over the top with about four incidents in the span of 2 laps.
Well, I thought they were doing more of a bungee cars, NASCAR bungee jumping, whatever, a combination of it. But I was just beginning to wonder. I thought Swaroop possibly had the better bird's eye view of what was happening to Shashank, Vedant, and Amit, because these guys were trying to outdo each other, and just I think it's all about patience, and the patience is what got the better of them. Danish
Honest, yeah.
learned from his mistake and has got a better lap time around.
Honestly, man, if I were Swaroop, I'd probably be very scared. I'd be quite nervous, on a knife's edge when I come up to lap them, because just imagine you're leading the race 30 seconds ahead of the pack, had almost a dominant race up till that point, and then you see three cars battling it out, going all over the place. It's literally demolition derby at that point, just about threading his way through traffic. He managed to do that brilliantly as he enjoys his victory lap down into the pits. We're just waiting for the session to time out any second now, and we'll have a full list of the results.
And Swaroop spins. What are you doing? Not on the last lap. Come on, reverse.
No, no, I
Get
think he's
onto the
done. I
track.
think he's completed the race though. Remember, it was about 20 seconds into overtime when he crossed the line. So I think it's just he's just enjoying himself out there. But yeah, yeah. I mean, that's perhaps the only mistake Swaroop has made in the past 1 hour. Had a flawless run in practice.
Which
Took the
didn't
Grand
cost
Slam
him.
today.
Which didn't cost him at all. And while the rest of the gang decided to play dashing cars, he said, "Let me go ahead and race." Well done, Swaroop, so far.
100%. This is going to be one very interesting interview panel. Right now, I mean, we're just waiting for the drivers to make their way back there. Everyone in the comments, what are your thoughts of this race? I'm quite sure you'd agree that this has been a lot more eventful than a lot of those quarterfinal races. Remember, we have one more race coming up at 9 o'clock, but before that, we've got just about 15 minutes left to have a chat with the drivers. Just waiting for them to get into the interview room. But Solomon, I mean, did you really expect something this chaotic for a semi-finals race?
I love the dashing cards. It kind of brought him to a lot of comic turns. We were thought Swarup could do no wrong, and he did a wrong. So there is something called the commentator's curse. So we do matter in the race sometime. So
Sure,
that's
hope
one.
not. I hope it didn't influence that. But yeah,
The
yeah, I was
second
just
thing is, second thing
yeah.
is, I was thinking on the, we were talking about how do you guide the car through the corners, even as
Mhm.
the track becomes better, even as we're going to go into this format. How do you
Definitely.
manage to guide that corner in the curb? Remember, most of them were trying to take the right-hander on the second or the fourth gear. It's actually supposed to be taken on a third gear. So a lot of
Mhm.
little mistakes here and there, and I'm sure
Yeah.
they're gonna iron that out soon.
Yep, definitely, definitely. So on that note, we're just waiting for guys to jump into the commentary box. Meanwhile, until the top three, top four come in, let's just have a quick word with Danish, who had quite an unfortunate race. We just wait for Danish to make his way into the commentary booth. Just want to know exactly what happened to him in Parabolica. Remember, viewers, we just have a few minutes for interview this time, so we have to keep it quite quick, unfortunately, because we do have a race lined up in just under 15 minutes. Um, so actually, yep, there we go. Danish, welcome, welcome. Very unfortunate the run that you had, especially having had a good start from P5. Could you just maybe run us through what happened through Parabolica on both those adventures?
So initially, I mean, the start was fine, and after that, I think I was at 1.3 also, but I don't know. I think the grip was less, and I got a little bit overconfident, and I slipped. And after that, when I was at P5 then, and I tried climbing back, but I don't know who it was, but there was someone who was glitching massively, and I had to play a little bit conservative, and in the
Mhm.
attempt to play conservative, I again messed up a few places because of that. So
Yeah.
there were two people that were it's not their fault, but it's yeah, but they were glitching like crazy, so there's nothing that could be done about that.
Danish, when you stopped the car, you were back of the grid and then started your very good flying laps. It brought you up to always almost to number six. Now, post that, did you start using certain reference points into certain corners, or is it just the pace of the car?
So at this point, we've driven almost maybe 10,000 kilometers or more in practice sessions and in race. So at this point, we have some sort of muscle memory, and we automatically do relate to certain points. Not that it's not like specifically you don't look at specific points. It's just that it's an instinct feeling where you understand. Okay, I mean, need to brake here. I need to start changing my turbo settings here. I need to change my gear at certain places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danish, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you so much for joining us, Danish. We just need to go through some of these other drivers. Let's see who else we can get in. So before we have a chat with the race winner, we only have one of those three drivers involved in those incidents. Let's get Shashank into the interview room. He's comfortably in P4 for the results. You can see the results on screen. But it'd be good to have a chat with Shashank, who's because I don't think Amit or Vedant are willing to give an interview. Both drivers might be a little frustrated. Shashank, welcome. Congratulations on getting P4. You held that Blue Jay Racing car quite well, chasing down Amit up in front, and then ultimately you managed to get past him. But there were a few last lap shenanigans. Could you run us through that, please? In a quick, maybe we can have a quick little recap of what happened.
Yes, I was in fourth position for a very long time. So I thought that Amit was in front of me. I'll maintain that distance and manage to get qualified for the finals. But I increased my turbo, and I managed to get past him. But um, the last two laps, somebody hit me from behind. I don't know who. So I hope that's not deliberate.
Shashank, so in hindsight, would you want to change something on your car setup? In hindsight, thinking back, maybe you may not want to have done this.
Um, no, I think this setup that I'm using right now is the best for what I have used so far. So I don't think I can change anything as of now.
Either way, it looks like you you managed to get the formula right because you've got yourself up there in P4 right now. And if you don't get any penalties after all the there are a lot of incidents, we don't know who's getting what. But if all goes well for you, you'll retain that and get into the finals. Either way, you finished P4 on the grid. You should be incredibly proud of that. Congratulations, Shashank. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And so we've got Swaroop and Vishal left to have a chat with, which is convenient because we have quite a few questions, especially, well, we don't have many questions for them particularly, but it'll be good to have their insight on how it was up front. Let's have a word with Vishal first, who's our P2 driver, the one who finished P2 on this grid. Welcome, Vishal. You had a strong run into P2. Quite a lonely race for you, was that? Was it quite a lonely race? We saw you glitching quite a bit on track, but we didn't see much of you on track really in terms of what you were up to. So, could you run us through what was going on in your race?
Well, I was having my own race, to be honest. I mean, Swarup was miles ahead, and I don't know what they've done to that car. It was damn fast, and obviously Swarup has a lot of confidence in it. And behind me, I could see from the delta that there was a lovely battle, P3, P4, P5, I guess. Yeah. Other than that, like it was quite a lonely race.
The Swarup had much faster straight line. Now, looking back, is there something that you would want to do to your car in terms of setup?
Yeah, we probably could have a look at it because we sort of set up our car to be more like the whole point till now was to get to the next round, right? So we wanted it to be more stable in the corners. So going ahead into the finals, yeah, definitely.
Do you ever get a feeling that you were very, very cautious in the corners, especially turn one and turn five and six? Like Swarup
Uh,
was going all out.
yeah, Swaroop, he just has a lot of confidence in his car. And I mean, I saw the gaps that were growing behind me, and I decided it's not really worth it to push and risk having some damage and dropping down places. So yeah, I took it a bit cautiously.
I guess at the end of the day, you don't need to worry about anything else that happened in that race because you've got P2 comfortably. And if you've stayed out of trouble, if the stewards have seen that you've behaved quite well on track, you'll be retaining that spot. But either way, you had a really, really solid charge. You had a good run, and congratulations on getting your P2. Stellar drive by you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So on that note, let's get our race winner into the commentary booth. Let's get Swaroop in and have a word with the race winner before we prepare ourselves for the next race of for the next race this evening. There you have it. The race winner, Swaroop, has joined us. Congratulations, Swaroop. We saw you charge into P1 in the quarterfinal races. You managed to do it here as well. You think you can take this all the way up till the end of the finals? Waiting for Swaroop to just sort his mic, perhaps. There we go. Yeah. Hi, Swaroop.
We so badly want to hear from Swarup. Swarup, I hope you have your mic on.
Yeah, yeah, mic is on, but I don't know. There's some glitch in Discord. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear right now.
Thankfully, yes. You may want to repeat your question.
Yeah, we had a stellar drive today, Swaroop. You ran away with victory in quarterfinals. You've got it here as well. You think you can take this all the way to the finals?
Yeah, definitely. I hope so.
Yep. And potentially, you have your teammate from Bulls Racing as well in the next grid. That's gonna take place just a couple of minutes from now. So if you would also get up there, you think that'll really help you? Given that you're going to have a lot of battling to do in the final grid, you think both of you are going to be able to use that slipstream to your advantage?
Yes, we are planning to do that.
Yep, yep. Always important in Monza.
Swaroop, my
Thanks.
question to you. You had the best view of what was going on between the cars when you're trying to lap them, but then you just kept going. Uh, a strategy there?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. The strategy, I just wanted to avoid any other car. Uh, like in the last lap, like there was a crash between three cars, so I barely managed to avoid it. So yeah,
You went, you completely managed to stay away from the crash and stay around it. You became a little cautious now. Your lap times were good, your setup was good, and then you're all set to mount the challenge as well.
yep, yeah.
Thanks
So
for talking
great.
to us.
Yeah, great drive, Saurabh. Congratulations on that victory. Looking forward to see what your teammate can also do in the upcoming race. But on that note, viewers, that's the end of race one
Thank
for
you.
today. But don't tune out just yet. Don't sign off just yet because we have another extremely exciting race coming up. If you thought this race is exciting, well, the drivers on the upcoming grid are also fierce competitors. We saw a lot of them have some great moments in quarterfinals up till now. So stay tuned. We will be back very soon, just about 4 or 5 minutes. When it becomes 9 p.m., we should most likely start the next race.
Welcome to the virtual racing challenge by Formula Bharat in collaboration with IReSport. It is Rev-it. We had a revving performance in the last time around with the earlier race with quite a few off-dashing cars and of course Shashank and Swaroop finally showing us what a good lap is all about. With me is Sai Dutt. Thank you for joining us. Sai, this has been another thing to look forward to as far as Formula Bharat is concerned. And we are at the beautiful track called
It
Monza.
is Monza, yeah. It's just such a nice combination to have Lotus at Monza, Lotus 9080s. Of course, viewers, we've been doing this for the past, we've been here quite a few times now. But I think it's not getting any more boring. Looking at the race that happened just a couple of minutes back, it was extremely exciting. Cars were all over the place, just like that car you see on screen right now. But that's what you want. You want to see some fierce competition. These drivers know what's at stake, but what's the point of being a racing driver if you don't make certain maneuvers, try to get your way up there in front? So I think still a really good job by all the drivers, albeit maybe a few penalties to be dished out soon.
I think it's one of those moments where these cars, let's give all the homage to the one and only Ayrton Senna. Remember, this was the second time he drove these cars. This is right under the tunnel. It's an amazing experience for a car to especially go through that tunnel and run in to turn number 9 and 10, and after that it just comes out to a very, very strong point. Remember, when you are from turn 9, you are approaches under the tunnel, and this is where it really all happens.
100%. It's just about getting those exits. Relatively simple track on paper, like I said, but you can get caught out, especially in sections like that. Remember, there is a little twist for the wind conditions, sorry, this time. I'll give a little bit more information on that just before the race starts. I don't want to give anything away in qualifying right now, but this is our first car on the grid. This is the next Bulls Racing car. We saw his teammate Swaroop run away with the victory. We know that Sudeep is capable of the same. He ran away with victory in his quarterfinal race as well. So this is our first car on the grid, the number 218 car, being driven by Sudeep G, the second Bulls Racing Team driver.
What he's done well is as far as turn 2 is concerned, straight off the sausage curve, moves into turn number 3 with the cover grande, takes a left-hander and a quick right-hander. Remember, it's the second and the third. You do not go beyond those gears. Clip the curb, don't go through them, avoid the sausage curve. That's what we've been saying for a long time. Remember, the right-hander has to be on the second curve as they touch turn number 6 and 7 in no time. Remember, the reference points is a little bit sketchy here. You have the tendency to go wide, and you can always see Sudeep almost going a little slightly wide right under the tunnel as they approach turn number 9 and turn number 8.
Yeah, sketchy is just the tip of the iceberg for what it is to handle these cars. It's literally like driving on ice, but somehow Sudeep is managing to do that very well. The next car we have on grid, we see a lot of support for this driver. See a lot of people typing Kohli in the chat. The next driver is Atharv Ashok Kohli driving the MACR car. This is another extremely dominant driver from this grid. We saw him run away with the victory. I believe he was just running away with his position in his race. So this is MACR Atharv in that livery that is a homage, in fact, to the Mercedes car with those little stars and dots on the engine cover.
One thing I really liked about the way Swaroop went about his racing is he was dead serious about just winning it. He says, and when the guys tried to follow him, they said he was really, really quick. That's the kind of confidence he had when he was taking on those corners. I think it's all about that grip. It's all about keeping that car onto that perfect line and getting that wonderful exit. Right under the tunnel, one more time, up to turn number 8, 9 and 10. This is where the left-hander comes in and a quick right-hander. Don't clip the curb, don't clip the curb. Yes.
He goes wide, planks himself on that astroturf and just slides. But he was 2 seconds up his personal best just at the entry to Ascari. So that is your second driver on the grid, Arthur. I think he's going to give some serious competition for that Bulls Racing car being driven by Sudeep. The next car we have on grid is another Blue Jay Racing team car. We saw his teammate in the previous race get into all sorts of carnage in the last last lap, albeit having quite a quiet race himself, quite a clean race. This is his teammate Others in the second Blue Jay Racing car, currently holding P2. So he's another very strong contender for that P1 or at least the podium spots for this race. So this is Others in his blue car, just charging down the main straight now. And as I say that, those are blue flames on the front, the hottest type of flame you can put. The heat is definitely up there. I think they're really serious as well. Very, very nice livery. You see Others now getting pipped from that P2 spot by Arya in Formula Manipal. So let's ride on board with Arya, who's the next driver on our grid.
The one thing very clearly was, I may be wrong here. Is there a huge trough kind of a thing between turn number 6 and 7? The red matches a car which I really don't know what is it about. When you talk about the red, let's not mention the name here, but then I understand where they're going with it. But but I just wonder, in turn number 6 and 7, it looks like a little bit of like a steep bend or a trough kind of a thing on the exit. And you'll find a lot of mistakes happening on that between turn number 6 and 7. Even Swarup in one of his lap was not able to cover that particular corner well, so he decided to go wide. A little sketchy, could be a little bit better. Tries his level, but tries to muscle his way around through that corner. This is going to be a hard lap for him to keep.
Well, let's maybe have a look. Let's ride on board with Arya and just see that little section you are talking about. Yes, between turns number 6 and 7, those are the two Lesmo corners for this track. We go through Della Roccia over here. He's sliding it all over the place. Take a very aggressive line, very similar to Ayrton's style. So that's nice to see. So yeah, he's getting into turn 6 right now, right? And what is that? What is that section
Turn
you're talking about?
6, turn 6, and here we get on to
Oh,
turn number. There you go. Yeah,
yeah,
there's you find a little bit of like a steep
yeah.
and a quick fall,
That's
and
the
you find.
camber of the track. They're just trying to ride it like a roller coaster almost, just kind of maximize your speed through that section without really taxing your tires too much.
And if you, he tries to adjust the car just before that corner, which was a very, very good job indeed. But then, doing so, he would have lost possibly a 1/10 in trying to set the car for that corner. As we look at him right now, he's trying to. His times are all right. He will possibly need to find a little more acceleration at least on the home straight here.
Remember, it's all about the slip angle of the car. So the chassis itself, the body of the car, has a certain level of slip with respect to the direction at which it's traveling. So based on that, it also has a small effect on the aero. Actually, in these cars, quite a big effect on the aero. Some counter moments pushing it back online. So I think he can afford to do that, especially when you have a really big rear wing like the one in these cars. But again, this is Monza. They're running low downforce. The only thing they really have to their advantage is that end plate to kind of balance the car out. Not particularly in these sections. Arya taking this section quite well. But yeah, that is your next driver on the grid. Let's just get on to the rest of the drivers that are going through. Let's have a look at AR Sandeep. That's Amrita Racing Sandeep.
You know what? The average lap times that have been clocked so far has been much faster than the previous batch. So we expect a much tighter race and hopefully not too much of a dashing cars. And one of the cars is pointing the wrong direction. Hey, you're supposed to. We are going clockwise, not anti-clockwise, sir. Uh, that's the way it is.
Maybe
As
if
some,
we maybe if we hope for dashing cars, then we'll counter jinx it, because it seems like whenever we hope for cars to be clean, they seem to be crashing on screen.
Well, one car pointing anti-clockwise while the you're supposed to go clockwise. Sandeep now clocks in 1 minute 2 so far. He is not going to be taking the pole position because he's at least about, come on, and the seconds are discounting. Okay, so he lost a lot of time. So will he get a chance to come back again? He hopes so. I like the livery on his car, and he's also got a sponsor. Get your sponsors on board because you really need to make sure that the livery only becomes better. Now, as you're looking down at others, 1 minute to 1:36.1, 1:3.59, difference of just 2 tenths between third and the fourth. Can somebody else lock in there?
Well, it looks like looks like it's going to be a battle between P4 and P5 for that for that final spot into the finals, if this is what the pace remains as. But the next car on our grid is CFR Brendan, another very strong contender. We saw Brendan have a really good race in the quarterfinals. Not a very good time right now on the grass, but he had a pretty good race himself. So with that brilliant, very unique livery, maybe he will claim that final unique spot to get into the finals.
I was also looking at the way, again, we've been talking about how tight turn one is, but look how the pit entry and pit exit is. It's a very, very tight pit entry and pit exit. So hence, on Monza, you will not find truck racing happening. And he's taking the escape route. And the escape route goes all the way up to turn 2 and 3. Brendan, come on. Get your car back on the track, please. And he does exactly that.
Yep, it's looking quite good for the top three, top four actually right now. But 5, 6, and 7 aren't far behind. At least not 5 and 6. Let's go on to P7 right now. Prek, what is Prek? Precision Racing, Precision. Pranav Ram running in the Precision car. Brilliant livery again. This is a stock livery, but it still looks very nice. You know, the blue and green. But this is another driver who had a pretty clean run, pretty nice race in his quarterfinals. Another driver who's trying to find his way up into the finals for this endurance event. But this Pranav Ram right now only managing to put a 1:45.8. I'm quite sure he has more pace than that. Let's wait and see what he does.
On to turn number 1, turn number 2. This is where he's got to be little bit careful there. Just line the car, take it as much as wide as possible. Clip the curb, just clip as much as you want to kiss somebody there. That's the kind of clipping that we're talking about. Pranav Ram now has a little sluggish exit. You would have wasn't as smooth as you would want as he moves into turn number 2, 3 and 4 and 5. Down through the tunnel this time around in no time, up to turn number 8, 9 and 10. Left-hander, quick right-hander, very wide, didn't get it completely under control.
Yep, that rear end in that car is just not happy, is it? It's he's just not managed to get that the temperatures up quite high enough in his out lap because he's struggling a lot. Looking at his erratic steering inputs, he's definitely not using a mouse. He's probably using a keyboard, or if he has much faster pace than this, it's no doubt going to be a controller. That's Pranav Ram. Our eighth driver on the grid from Force Racing, Sainath, in the number 208, has not put a lap yet, but another car that looks very similar to the Williams livery we were talking about. So maybe he can get some Williams power onto the grid. We know that Williams Racing has been doing quite well this season, really upped their game. So let's hope that's a good sign for having that livery on their car.
So Force Racing has one of their cars on the grid at this point in time, and it's one of those moments where they possibly Sainath will be looking to make an impact. Somewhere he's not been able to get as much speed off the cuff. He's still not been able to maybe push that car, if I may say, maybe the acceleration point. Now look at the track. You barely have space for even a car to pass. It's a very tight technical Monza track, and overtaking is going to be a lot difficult. Thankfully, this is an outlap, so maybe he's just trying to test the grip a little bit. Maybe want to try and touch the curb a little bit just to see if the brakings are coming all right for him.
I mean, he doesn't have much time left. This is his last qualifying run with just about 40 seconds left on the clock. He's going to want to get the best exit of his life out of Parabolica as he flies down the straight. Let's ride on board with Sainath as he's the last driver to put a qualifying time on the leaderboard. Let's see what he does as he flies down this track. Getting ready, looking for that 100-meter board, just braking a little bit before that, heavy on the brakes, trail brake into the corner. He slides it a bit, but takes it quite fast as he gets down into the next corner. This is Curva Grande.
You know what, I had a feeling that his front left, he was having a lot of problems with his front left. A person who shares his first name, almost his half a name with you, Sainath is now looking to make an impact here. How does he take the left hand? Not very comfortable. Almost trying to muscle it down there. You got to be smooth as butter, like hot nitro butter. I mean, you got to be very smooth, very clean onto that line again. Luckily, he manages to stay off the curb for a very brief, and he will clip the curb at the wrong place. You've got to be a little bit careful here. He's still on the outlap. I just hope he's able to set in his time again. We got what, 25, 26 seconds already up. Will he get some time? We've got to be looking at that. In the meantime, Sudeep sets the fastest 128.3 and still not been able to get that lines correct.
Much smaller gap, right, between P1 and P2 compared to the previous grid. Like you said, it's a much tighter grid, and it's great to see that almost every driver is below 1 minute 40 seconds, bar P7 Pranav Ram, who probably hasn't put a fast lap. That looks just like an out lap or something, and Sainath, who's still struggling to put a lap on board. But yeah, it looks like everyone else is back in the pits. I think nobody's really interested in exploring the track any further. There's not much to see. It's just trees and straights. But yeah, I think they've had enough of driving because they have about about 20 minutes more of 20 minutes more of racing to be done. But yeah, that's your final grid. We just have a look at that when it comes back. But yeah, we're just gonna wait for the race to start. I think all these drivers will as well. Sudeep taking pole by 3 seconds, followed by quite a few drivers, all stuck within 135.
Let's not forget the most important part of the race, the sausage corners. Do not forget the sausage corners. It can really do or undo your race. Well, the average time in this grid has been much faster in the previous grid. So I'm looking for a very exciting race at this point of time.
I mean, I'm telling you, man, it looks like most of the carnage happens in the second half of the race when everyone gets either trigger happy on their controllers or making that throttle happy on the car, and they're just kind of pushing it a bit too much. Remember that the tires do give way at a point, and this grid has much hotter track conditions. And now for that wind direction reveal, this time around the wind is actually blowing southwest, so it's still going to be working against you. It's going to be taking away down first through Lesmo to and Ascari, but because it's southwest, you're going to actually get some extra downforce when you get midway through Parabolica. So maybe a corner where they don't have to struggle too much. Little easier for these drivers compared to the previous grid, but it is a lot hotter on this grid compared to grid one.
Information that we have about the weather, we passed it on to the weather department. Hopefully, we should ask the weather to change the complete direction next time. Maybe add a little bit of token, but maybe that's a joke for
Just
another day.
just a few ones and zeros in code, I believe. That's what the weatherman does in this game. But yeah, that's up to our race directors, Tanuj and Feroz, enjoying themselves, giving these nice little tricky challenges to these cars. But I don't think they'll be too worried about the weather conditions right now. Everyone is looking for those red lights about to come on any minute. There we go. The starting sequence has begun. We've got 6 lights up for the second time this evening. As the lights go out, we're under green flag conditions. Once again, very smooth start. That looks like P5 has got the jump already. There we go. P5 is cutting across Brendan, taking the right side, being very, very careful, being very smart, and then getting into a collision with the blue car. That is the Williams Racing livery, taking out Pranav Ram in the process, and more carnage into the first chicane. We keep telling the drivers to be careful in the turn one, but it looks like everyone wants to win the race in just the first corner.
So there were 6 cars who actually had an impact. 3 cars in the rear, 3 cars in the back, and 3 cars in the front. So except Pranav Ram, except the race leader, we've had everyone possibly having some sort of an impact or a touch. They've got to be a little bit careful now. They've got to possibly learn from that lesson and possibly stay away from the curve as well. Now, more importantly, let the race come to you. Get the grip on the track first, rather than just trying to be trigger happy. As you rightly said, in the meantime, Atharva from NACR is moving up well. I just hope he's just being cautious. That is the modified auto club racing. I like that modified auto club racing. You need to modify your brakings on the corner here as well.
And that's what this competition is all about. It's about modifying your setups. It's about tweaking your setups. It's not just about getting in your car and attacking the racetrack. Every driver is capable of getting fast laps out of a car, but it's those final few tenths, in some cases, final few seconds, if the car is really
Right.
bad. And that's what these drivers need to do. It's always a balance. The drivers are also engineers, and they need to work with their teams and set up the car. Use the physics. Use all the knowledge that you gain from engineering, and use that to your advantage, because that is your biggest strength here, especially in a competition like this.
So Blue Jay Racing, from Blue Jay Racing team, others is now slowly nipping back on the lead that was there in the ahead of him with, along with Atharva. So there you have others just about. He knows he's holding back Sandeep and Arya. Now the fact is the fight between Sandeep, Arya, and Pranav Ram is possibly going to help Atharva. One of
Oh,
the
that's
power.
Arthur. That was, I may say, Arthur, who was in P2 going wide, and then you see Sandeep going very slow. I think he got a penalty for cutting the track, but Arthur has lost P2. He's down into P3 right now, and he's only about. I mean, he was holding on to P2 quite well, and I saw him very close to Sudeep. So I suspect there might have been some contact between them. There's surely contact between these two drivers, both of them taking it very cleanly, though ultimately holding on. It's Brendan versus Sandeep, and who's going to take that? No, sorry, was that Sandeep? No, that's the BJRT
With
car, right?
others.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was others who possibly had a little bit of a touch with
Oh, and
Atharva.
Athar's gone. Athar's spun. Yeah, yeah. You saw the camera didn't move beyond that point. It's so disheartening to see the camera, follow the car. The car disappears behind the tree, and then it just doesn't turn around after that. And then you see it's completely turned around on track.
Good
Athav now
work by
losing all of that.
Arya. Good work by Arya trying to take an evasive action when Atharva tried to almost take him off with the track as well. Maybe we didn't have to look at his Arya now says thank you very much. He jumps to number 4. Atharva will have to work hard now. Can we look at an overtaking maneuver in a long time? No, we don't.
Nope. Amrita Racing firmly holding on to that position in Askari. Arya gets it all wrong going onto the gravel trap in Askari. Perhaps the worst place you'd want to spin. It takes forever to get your car out of that and back onto this long straight. Crucial to get a good run out of this straight. You see the same issue at Lesmo too. Arya once again losing that position, but he's got Atharv hot on his heels. He's not going to give way. He's not going to let go of that P2 that he had. Atharv is going to start charging now through the pack. We know he has the pace. It's more about the consistency, though. We saw this with the SCESR car in the previous race. If you're not consistently smooth through these laps, you are not going to get that P4 position, irrespective of how much pace you have. Atharv getting ready to make a lunge here. I think he'll be smarter. He'll be smart enough to stay out of the way. No, he doesn't. He takes out the red car. It goes wrong for MACR. Atharv had a strong charge in quarterfinals. What is going on in this race? He's spun once. He's crashed into a driver again, and now Arya's got rear wing damage as well.
We are at Formula Bharat at this point of time, this wonderful virtual racing, and this could be an exhibition of dashing cars one more time. So, without further ado,
I hope not.
no, but I do believe when Atharva was trying to brake, and so was Arya, he didn't expect the guy ahead of them to brake so late.
No, but that's
And
the
they
thing.
just
You
spun.
can't stay in the slipstream in the braking zone as well, right? 'Cause then your braking distance is going to increase. Remember, when you have drag acting on your car, it does help you in your braking distances. Here, however, I feel like Atharv might have moved under braking, thereby increasing his braking distance. Not managed to get out of the way quite fast enough. More contact between Brendan and who is that? That's Pranav and Brendan from both those cars, PREC car and the CFR car, both in the pits right now. So Atharv and Arya still have time to make up positions. Arya's already in P4. Atharv is probably in the pits as well, probably because is he in the pits? I don't know. He's back in, yeah, he's in P5. He's in the pits. So it's gone all wrong for MACR at the moment.
I think the message needs to go to the racing drivers. Guys, relax. Let the race come to you, not the other way around. Let the race come to you. He has a broken windshield as well. As we're looking at it, yeah, he does. He has quite a lot of broken parts as well. Arya's got just play it down, just calm your nerves down, and let the concentrate on the lap timing because there's absolutely not much place you can actually overtake here. This is Monza, and this is one of the most technical tracks that you ever get. This is not like the fastest track of the both international circuit. There are wider lines. No, here you don't. Here you have to get your lines correct. Arya is
Speaking of
possibly
wide
learning
lines,
the.
it looks like he went a bit wide on the exit out of that chicane. Almost got on the gravel trap. Remember though, he does have a broken wing over there. The positive side of all this, he's got a silver lining up there. It's that he's miles ahead of P5 Atharva. Arya does have a broken rear wing. Atharva's in the pits, and we know that Atharva has the pace. So if he gets out of the pits with a really good car, well set car, and he manages to keep it clean, he can still catch up with Arya. Remember, there are 13 and a half minutes of the race left. That is still a lot of time for Atharva to chop down that spot. But with these sort of incidents, we really don't know what's going to happen after the race. But if I were Atharva, I'd at least want to get into P4 on at the finishing line just so that I can retain that for the time being.
This is a virtual racing challenge by Formula Bar. The Rev-it is what we call it in collaboration with IReSports. And what a start that we've already had. Just to quickly watch out here, each of those folks who are driving the cars again. This is the legendary Lotus cars driven by Artem Senna, made famous by one of the Gerard and all of those folks who really brought in the Renault engine down here to make sure that these brought in the raw speed to these wonderful tracks. As you rightly down see Sudeep now reading into the distance, not very bothered about what's happening behind him. He's already got about 21 seconds lead. As you rightly said, this gentleman is going to be possibly joining his teammate in from Bulls Racing.
Yeah, it looks like that's what he's going to do because he's already like 25 seconds and climbing in front of P2. BJRT others to about 30 seconds behind. It's going to be about 30 seconds at the end of this lap, but he's got Sandeep right behind him. So at least let's hope this time around that at least the podium finishers and maybe P4 as well don't squabble amongst themselves. There's plenty of time for that in the finals. Remember, every position here does count to your points total in the entire Rev-it competition, not entirely for the endurance event. Endurance is just to get get you into the finals, but you do score points for your finishing positions. So there's all is not lost even if you are in P5, but you have to keep it clean. We see these drivers make these mistakes in quarterfinals, it's fine. But when it comes to semi-finals, you want to be on the top of your game. You don't want to be making any mistakes as the timer ticks down with just over 11 and a half minutes left in this race.
I was just getting a feeling that Arya has possibly had a massive damage to his braking system. As there you can also see his wing slumping
Yep.
to the left. There you go, quite a bit of damage there. So there's absolutely no traction. He's driving technically with a broken car, with
Yep.
every chance that Atharva can actually pass him in the next 3 or 4 minutes. Mind you, he's losing speed with every corner.
I mean, let's get a little technical here with that rear wing. If we can ride on board with Arya and see the rear angle, right, the rear view camera, so we can see the back of his wing. Uh, so now you can see that his. We need to cycle through the camera once more just to see the back of the car. But once you do see that, you can see the angle of the wing. So there you go. You see the left side of the car tilting downwards, okay, and then the right side tilting upwards. Now, what is this going to do? These cars do have a lot of dirty air coming out, and the wings need to be in the right position for them to work. So if the physics of the game has been coded right, what will happen is the left side of the wing is going to get a lot of dirty air. Now that's going to give less downforce and potentially roll the car away from that point. So this is actually going to work against the cars, and especially when you're going through something like like a fast left-hander. Thankfully, there's no fast left-hander in this track, but still, it's still going to affect you on drag. It's still going to affect you in the braking zones, and that is why he's struggling with the brakes. I don't think there's a braking issue as such. It's just the consequence of that broken rear wing.
I was also thinking that every time he was approaching that corner, you always felt that the car was just moving way too quickly into the corner, and there was absolutely nothing much he was able to do. He was trying to use his steering to try and control the space of that car. So far, he's done a lot of damage limitations. He's just trying to get that car home, and he must be hoping that it just carries forward. Now, all he's got to do is stay away from one of those top curves, stay away from the slopes. Just keep it simple, keep it on the middle line, and just bring that car home. He's got over 100 seconds gap over Apurva. And for a moment, he didn't realize that into turn number one, he was trying to defend. And while the other car was just trying to unlap itself.
I saw that there was some car that overtook him into that chicane while he was going through the rear wing. But this is P5, the driver that was involved in that crash. Atharv trying to hunt down the driver in question, Arya. Like you said, that was 100 seconds. That's closing down by about 5 seconds. Nowhere near fast enough. That rate is nowhere near high enough to get Atharv to P4 by the end of the race. Remember, one lap is about 90 seconds over here. So just gaining about 5 seconds every 90 seconds of race time is just not going to be enough for Atharv. He's going to have to find some other potential, something else in his space, or he's going to have to hope that both Arya and potentially Sandeep lose positions, because if a driver is found guilty in a collision, he will lose up to 1 or maybe even 2 places post race. It's not based on time, it's based on position.
I think the bigger question is, can Arya's car survive for the next 9 odd minutes?
I reckon
If you're looking at the setup of the, you find the right wheel, the left rear, not really up to the same alignment with the right one. There has been some significant damage. Look at the complete shattered windshield there. They just took at the steering line. A straight line, no problem, but then all of a sudden you find the car swerving to a little bit of left. There's absolutely not much. He's doing a lot of good hard work there. And there you go. Somebody passes him.
And then there's contact between him and who was the car up ahead. That is MACR Atharv. Both drivers colliding with each other 2 times in this race. This is what you don't want to see. The same driver colliding with another driver. This time the roles are flipped. This time it looks like Arya outbroke himself and crashed into Atharv. Both drivers are definitely not going to be happy with the incidents. I suspect both are going to pit. I mean, at this point, if Atharv needs to pit, Arya might as well pit as well, because Atharv's about a lap behind him. It's just going from bad to worse really for Arya and Atharv in this race.
And Atharv has also picked up very critical wing damage, and the wing is completely slanting to the left. It will not even be able to withstand a little bit of speed there. Sandeep managed to, Arias managed to hold on for a bit. But meantime, as we're looking at the lap times coming around, there's a 30.9 seconds lead between Sudeep and Adarsh. Sandeep is at number 3. Arya is still classified at number 4. So they have taken a call that they will still go ahead with the race. But Atharva should have been a little more careful.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like both penalties that these drivers get, if they're found guilty of outbraking themselves and crashing into drivers, that's just going to cancel out. So, I mean, it still seems like Arya has the advantage. If both drivers are going to get a penalty, then Arthur still has a chance if he can close down that gap. And if neither driver has spit, is this like a jackpot for Sainath maybe, who's not too far behind? He's quite a long way behind, but with 6 minutes left, he still can chop down that gap. So it's anyone's game right now, if you ask me.
Atharva is showing a lot of more dominance on the track as if you're looking at the kind of driving style. We will see now that one of the red cars actually going up the track right into the penalty cannon. If you look at the lines he's able to make, he's able to bring his aggression to the track. The fact is there are a lot of those small mistakes that are coming in. He's got to avoid that. He's been away from the curves, but there was needless braking points where trying to pass Arya. I think that was absolutely needless. And you only got to learn. Diego again, Arya again, trying to pass one of the back markers. But there's no need to do that. There's absolutely no. There you go.
There you go. He's
And
lost it. He's lost it. Swerving all over the place, fishtailing, clean into the wall, and kaboom! That's game over for Arya. I'm pretty sure. There we go. He's back. He can P4 and P5 are going to get penalties right now with all the chaos that we've seen on track.
Arya has dropped down to number 5. Athura is classified at number 4. Sainath has an outside chance, I agree. You may never know. Even the advantage may also go to Pranav Ram. Sainath at this point in time in the pit lane at this point in time. Atharva back on track at number 4. Arya at 5. There are penalties coming, is what I believe. And
Yeah.
Aditya Pawar and Abhay Mankar would be sitting there and say, hey, the number of penalties is what we're going to be possibly counting on later.
Honestly, with no bias whatsoever, I really do feel that those are both outbreaking incidents, but they have cost the other driver the race. So both incidents most likely should warrant a penalty, but that's just based on the logical observation from screen. Of course, we can't see everything from these camera angles. We're gonna have to, at least not us, but the race stewards will be rewatching these and making a final decision when the results come out soon. They will come out soon because we do have the finals coming up this weekend. But right now, as the order stands, Sandeep happily holding on to P3, miles and miles ahead. All he has is a bunch of trees behind him and the car in P4, which is Athar. All this while Sainath is again missed out. Something's gone wrong. It's back into P7. Now Pranav Ram has a chance to get into that finals. Remember, he just has to overtake P5. But if he overtakes P4, he's guaranteed a spot in the finals.
The gap is just a little too much, but then with 3.5 minutes to go, and the kind of penalties that are coming in, this could really turn a little bit of an advantage to Pranav Ram, as you rightly said. What a race it has been so far. Quite a lot of dramatic turns, quite a lot of flips, quite a lot of turns, a lot of schoolboy errors, and a lot of some very nice taking of the corners as well, especially by Sudeep. So Sudeep will possibly join his racing team member Swaroop from Bulls Racing on the semi-final list. Atharva and others possibly looking to make amends here at this point in time. Others could possibly join. But the question is, with Sandeep, Atharva and Arya, and maybe Sainath be able to take him. Brendan all of a sudden has been classified as number 7.
I feel like he's back. He's back there at the tail end of the field. Something happened to him. We saw collision somewhere in the beginning. Remember when there was some overlap? There was some lapping incident which he was involved in, I believe, that gave him all that damage. But I didn't expect him to go all the way back down. So he obviously had some other spin somewhere off camera. But yeah, I know we're talking about Adarsh. We see quite a lot of hype now coming in for Adarsh in the chat as well. A lot of support now for all these drivers. BJRT has been strong. They had a strong race just about an hour ago. They're having a strong race here as well, holding on to P2 this time, and then by quite a by quite a huge margin. That gap is just increasing. Could be about 20 seconds by the end of the race. But the top three are effectively running away with this race.
I have a feeling that Brendan is all possibly on the rear wheel of Sainath somewhere. We're not able to see that. There we go. Brendan just passes Sainath. Brendan just passed Sainath, and he passed him like a breeze. And Sainath had no answer, no defense at all. Brendan also has a little bit of a damaged and Sainath says thank you very much if you've overtaken me. That's the treatment you deserve. Well, not literally. Hey, come on, the track is this way, not the other way.
I mean, so it's oh man, and BJT is not able to get
Come
back
on.
on track, continually bouncing off that Aramco barrier. Others really needs to get his pace back up there because I feel like Sandeep is probably tackling, closing down that gap now. Remember, it was 20 seconds. See the damage score of Athar in P4, but I don't know about you, but there are gonna be some words. So there will be some words exchanged. It'll be interesting also to understand what happened when we have
I
the
think
post-race interview with those drivers.
absolutely it was a little. Well, I found it like almost like a T-bone between Sainath and Brendan, but Brendan would possibly came there at the wrong time, and then he had no other way to go and just went off the track again. All of a sudden, you're seeing Brendan slowing down his car, so there has
Yeah.
been excessive damage there.
That was the blue car, I
Sainath,
think, of Adarsh, not Brendan. Brendan is the purple one, right? I think. I'm not sure, but yeah, looked like a blue car stuck
there you
at
go, Brendan.
Parabolic. There we go, Brendan. Yeah, he's in the purple car, finding his way down the back straight. Brendan is in P5, and if luck is by his side, he will be getting into P4 potentially. We'll have to wait and see again. The timing screen is so glitchy; it's all over the place. But with just 15 seconds left and nothing else really happening on track apart from a spin there for Brendan, maybe we can ride on board with the Bulls racing car of Sudeep, see
Not
where
the
he is.
time. Not the time to get the spin. Not the time to get the
Yep,
spin. Get back on the track. There's a chance
there
that
we go.
Atharva could get a penalty as well.
Exactly, from that collision back in the the braking zone into the chicane. So yeah, Brendan still has a chance, but he has to hold on to that. Sainath is just about 50, maybe 40 seconds away. But remember, those 40 seconds can just plummet if you make another mistake. We've seen this happen time and again. Speaking of that sort of a gap, we're almost a minute away from P2 with respect to our onboard camera of Sudeep. Remember, in the USGP couple of days ago in Formula One, that Red Bull didn't have a very dominant victory. It was being hunted down, and then Max Verstappen won by the smallest of margins with his driving skill. This time, however, the Bull on track today is miles ahead of the competition, about a minute behind two others in P2. I think both the Bulls racing drivers have done a stellar job. They'll be happy to take their second respective victories each, by the way, in this tournament, in this competition. As Sudeep goes around Parabolica, I think Bulls Racing will be one of the happiest teams in the paddock this evening.
Absolutely. I really liked what he did on 8, 9, and 10. He was spot on. He committed to the corner. Didn't even budge an inch. No inch given, no inch taken, and came off really, really strong as well. So Sudeep is really showing his dominance. I believe it's going to be a very, very difficult fight to beat these folks from Bulls Racing because they really are on the form of their lives. And as far as Bulls Racing, Swaroop and Sudeep is concerned, they're possibly going to be exchanging fast laps between them. In the meantime, Adarsh runs away into the distance. Sandeep still has a chance to be at number 3, but I still believe Brendan may move up to number 4. But then the stewards decide.
Yep, Arya's made his way back into P6, but if he gets a penalty, he'll be dropped down to P7. Atav has a potential penalty. We saw some of those incidents between maybe BJRT and FR and CFR also involved in different incidents. It looks like the only driver who's been clean of any sort of racing incidents, at least from our perspective from these cameras, is Sudeep, who's crossed the line almost about 1.5 minutes back. There we go, BJRT others crossing the line into P2. Even if others were involved in some sort of incident and gets a penalty of one position, he still most likely will retain a top 4 finish as Sandeep crosses the line in the Amrita Racing car to take P3 to wrap up the podium spots for this race. We see Atharv in P4 crossing the line, just about ready to cross the line, but there will be some investigations for sure after all that chaos. But as Atharv crosses the line, he takes P4 in the official classifications, currently in the top 4 to potentially go into semi-finals, and then a massive gap to CFR Brendan. He's about 400 seconds behind, and that's dropping continually as he spins. I think Brendan has finished the race because he's at the third chicane right now.
I think they were trying to do something. They're trying to try different lines. Well, the race is over, but maybe some of that learning will definitely come forward. Right, Adarsh 1, Sandeep 2, Sudeep at number 3, Atharva at 4, Brendan at 5, Sainath at 6, and Pranav Ram at number 7.
And
Now,
someone has DC, it looks like, in their classification. I don't know who that was, but yeah, looks like one of the drivers was not there. The eighth driver was
Adarsh Lal.
IReSports, our race directors, taking care of the cameras.
Right then, I think it's almost time that we are actually looking forward to talk to a few of them. But Sudeep, take a very good bow because he raced well, raced hard, kept it tight, and he was not and he was class above the rest, easily class above the rest.
100%, 200 points for victory. These bull racing guys have already racked up. Bull racing guys and gals have all wrapped up about 800 points now in the past four races they've been involved in, two quarterfinals and two semifinals. I think they can all take a small break and just relax and coast their way potentially to victory. Not keeping any favorites or anything, but definitely bull racing is one team to look out for in the finals for everyone who's watching right now. So the first driver we have lined up in the interview room is Adarsh, the only driver who wants to come in the interview room. Maybe the winner is celebrating and the rest of the drivers are a little feisty after the incidents to get on board. But here we go. Welcome, Adarsh. Congratulations on P2. So you had quite a clean race, but maybe a small incident maybe there in Parabolica, I suspect. Were you involved in an incident in the final few laps of the race?
Yeah. That was actually my second last lap, and I was speeding up, and my and the guy in front of me was quite slow. So the car trembled quite a bit, the front one, and I crashed into it. But I took care of the situation and went forward.
You know, the a very interesting story here is that on the start, you stayed very close to the race leader, and somehow you just lost it out. Did you find problem with your traction?
Um, for this, I would like to say that the guy from Bulls do quite a good job with their setups. So I think their setup is a winning contender. I think so, and they have a lot more traction than us. So we'll have to look into it with our setups.
You do you want to consider Control C, Control V?
No. That's not what we do here.
Yes. Yeah, we're just kidding. We know that you're all capable of making some really good setups, and you still have a few days to prepare. So if you reckon it's the setup that needs a tweak, you can tweak that and potentially be the fastest driver out there. But congratulations, Adarsh, and good luck for the finals.
Thank you.
Right, Solomon. Who do we bring on board next?
I I was thinking of trying to get the race leader, the man who ran away with the race.
That would be Sudeep. Yep. Let's wait for Sudeep to do his mic check and join us. Yep, we've got Sudeep in the interview room. Congratulations, Sudeep! Runaway victory for you and your teammate in the previous race. Quite a lonely race you had there. Any fun incidents or any interesting things that happened in your race out in front?
Sudeep, I hope if you're able to hear us, buddy,
I think
just
both Bulls racing cars ran out of juice towards the end, so both having mic problems now. They had a really good car, so I think all power went into the car.
or maybe they may be sharing the same mic. Uh, uh, Sudeep, if you can hear us, just give us a shout, buddy. No, we cannot hear Sudeep.
You can see it on Discord, but you can't not able to hear anything from the mic.
Hello.
Yeah, hi Sudeep,
Yes,
welcome. Yeah,
Sudeep, you can hear us loud and clear.
Oh, yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Super.
great race for you. Runaway victory, I would say, but it was a lonely race. At
Yeah.
least we weren't able to focus much on you because of all the carnage at the back of the field, in the rest of the field. But how was the race from your perspective? Anything interesting happen? Once again, some mic issues, I believe.
I think we will get Sudeep one more time again. Maybe we can talk to
Yeah.
Sandeep.
Um. Uh. There was a lot of back markers. Had to deal with the slower cars, but
Mhm.
yes, it was a lonely race up front.
Sudeep, quick comments for you is that there's been a lot of appreciation from each of the racing teams the kind of work Bulls Racing has done on the car setups. So there's been a lot of work which has happened there.
Yes, sir. So we started earlier and we've been putting our efforts practicing. Uh,
Uh, tell, tell me in the last lap, when the lap, I mean, when the checkered flag was out and you were on, you were trying some different lines into turn 6, turn 7, and then even turn 8 and 9. Were you trying to look at traction? Is traction a critical issue here or a straight line?
yes, sir. So given the different dynamic conditions, track grip is very important. But I wasn't experimenting anything in the last lap. I was just uh, cooling, cooling up.
Well done, very, very well done. So you also join in your teammate as well from Red Bull. So you're really making down for a very, very interesting fight. So it is nice to see you along with Swaroop from Bulls Racing making an impact. So you must be happy with the teamwork.
Yes, sir. I'm very grateful for my team as well as my friend and teammates who we come a long way since we started.
Congratulations to you. Very hearty congratulations to you.
Great job,
Thank
Sudeep.
you.
We're looking forward to seeing the sort of strategy that plays out in your team in the finals. With you're currently the only team to have both cars in the finals, as the order stands. Congratulations. We're looking forward to that race.
Thank you.
So the next drivers we've got Sandeep, we've got Pranavram and Atharv in the booths. Let's bring in Sandeep, the final podium finisher for today. Welcome, Sandeep. Congratulations on that P3. If I'm not mistaken, there was I remember some sort of contact between your car and another red car somewhere in Askari earlier on in the race. Is that correct?
In the first lap, I think there was a contact.
Could you run us through maybe what happened there?
Yeah, I tried to go on to the farthest right as possible, but the one on my left slightly banged on my car.
Okay, yep. But did that have any like impact on your car in terms of damage, or was it just a little spin and you got back into racing speed?
No. Luckily, there wasn't any there wasn't any damage, so I was able to back up.
That's good to hear. Yep.
Looking at your speed, do you believe that maybe a little more traction on the corners would have been better for your car? Is there a setup that is missing? Because when it came to the corners, you were not challenging, but when it comes to the straights, you seem to have had more space.
Yeah, I just don't want to mess up in the corner.
It's a very. Tell me the most difficult corner. Tell me your most difficult corner over here.
Yeah, the one which is following up the first Ascari, the one next to it. That is actually one easy corner, but I don't. I'm not sure why I'm just losing the grip. Even in practice session, I used to spin a lot in that corner. So I just wanted to be keep my car stable at the corner.
Well, nonetheless, with all of the some of the issues in the beginning, you managed to get yourself up there into P3s. Congratulations. If you've had a clean race, you'll be maintaining that. But as the order stands, you are currently in the semifinals. Of course, not the official classifications, but nonetheless, congratulations, Sandeep. Have a wonderful evening and celebrate with your team.
Thank you.
So our final driver to come in the commentary box is Atharv, the driver we've all been wanting to talk to for a bit since the beginning of that chain of events. So we can have a word with Atharv. That'll be insightful. And there we go. Welcome, Atharv. We saw we finished P4, but unfortunate those incidents in the beginning of the race. We know it's not the prettiest incident out there, but we'd still like to know your perspective and what happened in both the one on the main straight and the one on the back straight.
On second lap, I think one dark blue color car
came from pit and he just but he got into my track and okay, I there stopped break the car, but I don't know why. But later on, he crashed into someone. Then I messed up there on second escary.
You know, one thing
Then
that one thing that really strikes about the your driving is you were struggling on a few corners as well. Now, is it the setup or you were just trying to be cautious?
I just trying to be cautious because on the second lap I got crashed on turn and then I got to pit. There I wasted time. So
Yep. But we saw you had really good pace. Congratulations. I think you had MACR effectively have made a very fast car, good setup. You were holding on to that P2, challenging P1 in the starts. Congratulations on your pace and in the beginning. Um, but then, of course, you had that a few unfortunate spins as well. I mean, things that might need to be looked into by the stewards. But as the order stands, you do have P4. So congratulations on that, Athav.
thank you, thank you.
Um, Yeah, I think we have one final driver. We have Pranav Ram. I think disconnection he had, but Pranav Ram's in the interview room. It'll be really nice to have a final chat with the last driver for the evening and see how his race went. Mm. Hi Pranav, welcome to the commentary box. Unfortunate to see that disconnection at the end, but overall you had pretty decent pace. Can you run us through how your race went?
To be honest, it didn't go well. I made some experiments with my setup and I didn't quite turn out well. But still, I'm happy that I came this far and I'm happy for the team. Still, it would have been better, but still, I'm happy.
Yep, yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw you struggle a bit in qualifying, but you still continued pushing on. It was good to see that at least you put the time out there. In Monza, it doesn't really matter where exactly you start on the grid. It's all about that consistency. But some things are just out of our hands, right? Especially if it's a DC. But nonetheless, congratulations, Pranav, on a good solid drive, completing the race. You did get points on board from that.
Yeah, thank
Solomon.
you, thank you.
Yeah, so my question to you, Pranav, is that when you were involved in a very, very close battle, and there was a chance Sai and I, we were discussing, there was a chance that you could have actually gone up to the number four. Now, did you lose traction? Did you lose straight line,
Uh,
or
yeah, I think I lost my grips in the rear. I had no control over my rear towards the race because I
and that
just made
was
some.
the
Yeah,
left rear? That was the left
yeah,
rear.
yeah, exactly. Uh,
And where did you lose that grip? I mean, where did you pick up the damage?
I think so. During I think 10 minutes into the race, I had a little spin and did a crash, but I didn't think it would affect my race this much. I think most probably that is the one thing that would have made lost the grip in the left rear.
Did that also affect you when you were taking the corner?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it did. I was able to maintain the cars in the straight and the medium speed corners, but slow speed corners, no. I was not having any grip at all.
Right. Well done for today. Well done for today. Wish you very well for the next one.
Yes.
Thank you
Great
so
job.
much.
PREC, you have made an impact. Your newer team, but it's a name we'll definitely remember. And we still have your second driver Sam also in the semi-finals, right? On grid
Yes,
four.
yes.
Congratulations and good luck to your team. Huh?
Thank
You
you,
guys
thank you.
plot out the strategy for tomorrow. But yeah, good luck. Good luck.
Sure. Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you.
Sure. So on that note, viewers, it's been a riveting competition. I think today was a lot more exciting, a lot more fast paced than what I'd expected. We did have some unfortunate incidents all over the place, but nonetheless, we did have a nice set of battles, some really clean racing. Before we wrap up, Solomon, any final thoughts on today and what you would like to expect for tomorrow?
Stay away from the sausage curve. Get to your middle line. Keep your curves. Wait for the race to come to you. Remember when you're on the right hander, go to the third gear. and you do not have to look to overtake on the first corner itself. They will make mistakes for you to get ahead. I think that's all I will have to say, which is a lot actually.
Yeah, yeah, that is Solomon for y'all, commentator and your driving coach for the semi-finals, at least on stream. But yeah, for sure, it's about staying clean, and let's hope the drivers do that, Solomon. Let's hope we have some really clean races tomorrow. I think it's about just waiting for it to come to you for sure. But on that note, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I think we had a swell time. We really hope you did as well. This has been extremely exciting, a lot of fun to do this evening. We have a lot more coming up. We have two more races tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. till 10 p.m. tomorrow, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. IST. Before we have the exciting finals at the end, my name is Sai. That's been Solomon alongside with me, and we've been really, really excited, really happy to have brought this. All the coverage you see on screen was by our race directors, Feroz and Gaurav. We have our stewards, Abha Mankar and Aditya Pawar, all taking care of all of it that's coming, all of the background work, and also Tanuj, who's been involved in the race direction. Everybody from the IReSports team, we'd like to sign off, and thank you all for joining us. And also on behalf of Formula Bharat and Optimum G, we'd like to wish you all a good evening, and we'll see you all tomorrow.